Hello, my name is Douglas Bloch. I'm an author, I'm a counselor, I'm a depression survivor. Welcome to your Depression Recovery channel, where each week we talk about practical skills and coping strategies for healing from depression and anxiety. Well, we have the tradition here, even though we're talking about depressing things, we have to start with some humor, so let's try it out. I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever been in New York City, the rush hour traffic is really bad. So on a particularly bad day, an old man was trying to cross the street and a cab jumped out, knocked him over. He fell to the ground. People called 911, an ambulance, and when a person is in shock from getting hit, they often will put a coat or actually a blanket on him to help with the shock, keep him warm. And so as that was happening, a bystander, went ahead and bent down and talked to the man and said, "Are you comfortable, old man?" He replied, "I make a living." There you have it. Okay, so what is the title of today's video, guys? Oh, it's a very cheerful title. It's called, Would You Rather Have Cancer or Be Depressed? Now, at first, this seems like a ridiculous question, right? I mean, they're both bad news. I think that depression is the second leading cause of disability in the world, and cancer is the third leading, or vice versa. But you can die from both, right? From metastatic cell growth and cancer to suicide with depression. And yet, to some of my clients, there's actually a difference between the two. So let me start with a story. We had this gal in my Tuesday group. She was a nurse, worked for the Red Cross, and she was in my depression support group because she was depressed. She also had psychotic depression, where every now and then she heard voices telling her to kill herself. And of course, she learned not to pay attention to them. Now, she was well respected by her colleagues, but she never dared tell them about the depression, let alone the voices. She was afraid she would be stigmatized at work. And she was really struggling during this particular month, feeling really down, very low mood. But one day she came in and she was really cheerful. The group said, "What happened, Sally? Why are you feeling so good?" She said, "Well, I have good news for you. I have cancer." People said, "What? Are you crazy? You have cancer? How could that be good news?" She said, "Oh, you don't understand. When I told the people at work, they were so nice to me. They gave me pink balloons and flowers and all this love and affection I didn't know they felt towards me. And if I had told them I was hearing voices, they would have run the other direction. So I'm really glad I have cancer, because at least I get love and support, where with depression, I'm just shunned." Then just the other day, I was speaking with a coaching client who was suffering from, or is suffering from, a disabling depressive episode. He said, if I had cancer, if I had diabetes, people could see there's something wrong with me. I'm 29, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm good looking, and so people think this is all in my head. No, it's not all in my head, it's all in my brain. Depression is a brain disorder, but no one can see the brain. So no one really knows that you're depressed in that way, but they can see a tumor. What's worse, Steve continued, is that if you have cancer, your basic instinct is to fight for your life, to fight for survival. But when a person gets really depressed like me, he thinks of ending his life. This goes totally against our inborn survival instinct. This is why depression is such a cruel disease. Later on in the conversation, we talked about the book Darkness Visible by William Styron. I did a whole video on this book, and he had just finished the book, Steve had, and I said, "Wasn't it depressing?" No pun intended. And he said, no, not at all, because I finally found a guy who understood what I was going through. He knows the territory. I felt validated, supported, acknowledged, and I didn't feel stigmatized because I knew that what I had was real and that he understood. This brings us to another important distinction between depression and cancer, and that is stigma. Many, many decades ago when I was growing up, there was a big stigma to having cancer. People kept it hush. They were afraid of talking about it. But those days are long gone, as we can see from our nurse's story earlier in the video. But it still remains with depression. Again, just the other day, I do coaching around the world, in case you haven't guessed, and I had a long-distance client who had been unable to work for 2 years because of his depression. And he was finally trying to look for a job. He said, "Doug, what should I say when they ask, what have you been up to the last 2 years? Should I tell them the truth?" I thought about it and said, well, I don't know. I remember when I was working at the Portland Opera many years ago during my third depressive breakdown, and I was hospitalized for 3 days due to some really bad anxiety. When I came back, the boss asked me, "Where have you been?" I said, "In the hospital." He said, "What for?" And then I lied. I said, "Well, I was there getting a sleep study for my insomnia." I was afraid that if I had told them the real truth, I might get fired. So when the client asked me, what should I tell my employer? I said, don't tell them the truth. Give another reason, like I was taking care of a sick parent. By the way, that actually happened with one of my clients, had to take a leave of absence from work because he was taking care of his dying father. So that was a legitimate excuse. Now, what if the same client had had cancer and had been going through chemotherapy for 2 years and he had told his boss, oh my God, he'd get sympathy, compassion. The boss would say, wow, what courage you have. There would be no problem in telling the truth. This is why during my last depressive episode, I blurted out more than once, I wish I had cancer. At least I would feel supported, understood, and I wouldn't be thinking of killing myself. And many of my clients have expressed the same sentiments and are doing so now. And yet, from my current vantage point of wellness, I can say that I would rather have depression than have cancer. I'll say it again, I would rather be depressed than have cancer. Why? Because over the past 15 years, I've lost a lot of people to cancer I know, from breast cancer, cancer of the tongue, stomach cancer, liver cancer, brain cancer. People can really try to get better from cancer. They can have a really positive mental attitude. They can even have good treatments, but they still die. But depression doesn't have to be terminal. As I've said on this channel and done videos on it, suicide can be prevented. I've seen many people, including myself, feel there was no hope. They were never going to get better. It was all finished. It was all done. And yet, they did resurrect. They did heal. They did come back to life. And so can you, because there is life after depression. This has been Douglas Bloch. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something from it. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments section, or you can email me, douglasbloch@gmail.com. I hope you can subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. If you want to do so, during the closing credits, click on my photo and you'll be taken to the subscribe page. And right to the right of the subscribe button is a bell. If you click on that bell, you'll be notified of every video I do and all my Q&A chats. And if you want to go to my website, click on the book Healing from Depression. And if you click on the videos, you'll get to watch them. And until we meet again, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. And remember, there is life after depression. People do get better. Thank you.